I want to create a movement. Delighted that you're part of this movement, Liz. I think the more we can spread this movement, more for millions and millions of children.
Absolutely. Let's reinvent education, reinvent learning, and just, make a positive impact for the future of our kids. So, hey, a quick intro in case you're new to my channel. I'm Lizz Quain and I'm a world schooling coach. In addition to posting lots of conversations on my channel about family travel, world schooling, and alternative education, I also run a 12-week course on how to world school and travel extensively as a family 3 times a year, where parents gain more knowledge, confidence, and ease about this wonderful but sometimes challenging lifestyle. My course participants are far less likely to make costly newbie mistakes once they launch, and they're far more likely to thrive during their amazing adventures as they travel the world and use the world as their kids' classroom. For more info, check out the end of this video as well as the website link in the description. Hi, everyone. I am super excited today to have Michael Strong. He's the CEO of the Socratic Experience. I have heard about them for several months now. And I actually had a panel discussion with parents whose kids attend online schools while they world school. And one of them, David, his kids are with the Socratic Experience. So I'm really glad to have actually the founder here. Let me tell you a little bit about him. Michael Strong is a pioneer in education and independent learning. He's the founder of multiple innovative schools, public schools, Montessori's, a whole bunch of them. The most recent is the Socratic Experience, which is a virtual school for students age 8 to 19. So correct me if I'm wrong, Michael. And they offer personalized and purpose-driven education. They believe that combining classical, Socratic, intellectual, inquiry-based learning and discussion, interactive peer learning, and self-directed learning prepares students for success in the 21st century. Very important. So he's also the author of The Habit of Thought, From Socratic Seminars to Socratic Practice, and the lead author of Be the Solution, How Entrepreneurs and Conscious Capitalists Can Solve All the World's Problems. I will definitely have to check that book out soon. He also gave a TEDx talk titled The Socratic Practice as Disruptive Technology. I watched that yesterday. I highly recommend it. So Michael, welcome. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Liz. Delighted to be here.
Now, let us know where you are currently, because I know you've been traveling lately.
So I live near Austin, Texas.
Okay, wonderful. And have you been there for a while, or?
Most of the last 20 years back and forth between Austin and San Francisco, but solidly Austin side for here on out.
Okay, wonderful. So I think I mentioned to you that I run a 12-week course for parents on how to world school. I run it 3 times a year. I do share with them a list of over 70 online schools for the participants of the course. And, there's a number of traditional schools on there and then some more progressive ones. So I think that the Socratic Experience to me is one of the more interesting and innovative ones. So I'm really glad to have you here to share more about your program. But first, since our audience is made up mostly of world schoolers or those who hope to world school in the future, let's first get some world school related concerns out of the way, because we have some unique challenges or requirements versus a stationary family. So I want to know if your sessions are mostly live and synchronous.
Yes, our sessions are mostly live and synchronous. People can do a la carte. And so our core school day is 2 hours from 10 to noon Austin time, US Central Time, and 1 to 3 US Central Time. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. We have electives on Wednesdays. We have some parents who only do, say, the morning, only the afternoon, only the Wednesday electives. So people, if it's inconvenient, if those times are inconvenient, they can do a la carte. We have families throughout the Western Hemisphere, and then also Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Of course, it tends to be an evening school for those people. I've had interest from Asia, but we are not yet set up to serve Asia.
Got it. Okay. Do you record the sessions for any kids who miss it?
We can have kids watch sessions that they miss. It's interactive and live, so much of the joy, and kids love our program. It's not as fun if you're watching it afterwards, but yes, they can look at recorded sessions if they're missed them.
Yeah, I think for some world schooling families who are fast traveling and just doing lots of sightseeing or socializing with other, locals or world schoolers, this might be tough, but many of us slow travel, so this could work. Okay, so you mentioned the time zones. You're kind of in the central US time zones. And then you said 2 hours a day and then another 2 hours a day. So total 4 hours a day, correct?
4 hours is our core school day. We also have some additional classes in the afternoon, but those are either optional electives or math tutoring. And so it's really based on convenience there. But the heart of our program is the 4 hours of the day.
Okay. And then how many hours do you think that the students spend on homework or their own learning work offline?
In terms of required homework, relatively little. They might have, half an hour to an hour of reading, writing, math per day in the upper grades, but in the lower grades, none at all. So it's very low homework in the lower grades. And most of the homework as they get older is their own projects. And so then they can choose how much time they do on their projects.
Okay. So it's pretty flexible, correct?
Hugely flexible, incredibly flexible. Yeah, I would say so much so that I'll give you an example. We had a student who got an apprenticeship and for second semester last year with an architect actually in Prospera on the island of Roatan, and he actually got high school credit for his apprenticeship and he didn't attend school with us at all. So one of the extremes of flexibility is we can give credit for almost any legitimate sort of activity. We've given credit for somebody who is a competitive golfer and his coach served as the person who supervised his credit. Somebody was in a choir that she got credit for that. We've got students who've gotten credit for writing a book outside of school. So we can give credit for a huge range of things. We also provide at no extra cost up to 3 high school or college courses that are asynchronous through various providers. So we have students who, in addition to our program, might be taking a conventional biology course at UT Austin or Harvard CS50, their introduction to computer science at Harvard. So there's a kind of our core interactive dialogue, high touch, very personal program. And then they're kind of an infinite set of flexible options, including credit for various cool activities students may do, and any of thousands of courses on Coursera, Udemy, etc.
Amazing. Yeah, and we have a lot of homeschoolers who world school. And so either the parents will put together a transcript, a curriculum, something, and then they may, use an umbrella school to get those credits. But I know that you're accredited, correct? So
yeah, we use something called NARS, which actually specializes in this sort of thing. But we have an accredited high school diploma. Pre-K through 8, it really doesn't matter. But for high school, we do an accredited diploma. And if anybody wants or needs a U.S. high school diploma, that's what they get for college admissions in the U.S. or most countries recognize a U.S. high school diploma.
right. Okay, good. So it's for 8 and above. And then you've mentioned students in other countries. So any nationality can enroll, correct?
Yes, we have students from Panama, Costa Rica, Chile. We've had students from Iraq. We have a student from Senegal. We had a student from Taiwan until the time zones became too much. So we're extremely international. I'd say about 20% of our students are outside the US. And some of them are world schoolings. We have one of the reasons a lot of families like us is, especially if they're in the Western Hemisphere, they can, do summer in Canada and winter in, Guatemala or whatever. It's very convenient.
Awesome. Great. Okay. So I think for the families who can work with the above parameters, let's keep learning about the Socratic Experience. So tell me a little bit about when it launched and why did the Socratic Experience launch?
Sure. So I've been creating schools for 35 years, all with strong Socratic dialogue component. Most recently, I'd been hired to create the Montessori high school model for the largest Montessori network in the US. And when COVID hit, everyone was talking about how horrible online schooling was. And in general, I think it was. It turns out dialogue, having a conversation, works pretty well online. And so we launched in October of 2020 with 3 students, and now we're at 150 students and growing, and yeah, with a global population.
Okay, so basically it started because of the pandemic, right? And it grew.
Yep.
Amazing. Okay, so let's talk about the Socratic Experience's main kind of educational philosophy, kind of the overview, and then we'll dive deep a little bit more.
Sure. I'll first actually start with end in mind and then talk about how we develop it. So our strategy for college admissions is a combination of great SAT scores, great projects, and a couple of college courses. They could be advanced placement or college courses. And the reason I mention that is it shows how we can be incredibly flexible coming up. Our upper elementary, say ages 8 and up, occasionally we have a mature 7-year-old. Basically, entry level as students need to be able to, check email, basic reading skills, that kind of thing. But our elementary program is based on Montessori. Obviously, we can't do Montessori virtually, but we have a lot of emphasis in creating a respectful environment for children. They are taught basic reading, writing, math skills, either in small groups or sometimes in larger groups for, say, a Socratic discussion. And then they have a lot of projects where the students will all do research on amphibians or space or whatever and give each other presentations, which they love. They're just crazy about giving each other's presentations. It is very rich, interactive, student-centered environment that also covers basic skills. We ensure that students have grade level core skills, reading, writing, math, or higher, unless a parent opts out because of learning difference or just they don't want it. So we're flexible on that parameter as well. Starting in 6th grade, we have significantly more Socratic dialogue. So there are 2 blocks, 2-hour humanities block, 2-hour STEM block. The 2-hour humanities block starts with, and this is all 15-to-1 Zoom, starts with a personal growth session where we'll discuss questions, and it's all question driven. How do you set goals? How do you learn from your mistakes? What do you do if you're not getting along with your friend? Everything is very open-ended and conversational. The kids love to think and talk about how to live a better life and becoming a better person. Not all on day one. If they're coming from a conventional environment, it takes a little getting used to, but within a few weeks, they're having fabulous conversations. That's the first hour, personal growth, then a break, and then the text-based Socratic, where we read mostly classic texts, typically fairly difficult material, but we read it slowly and discuss the ideas in the text. Again, kids love to think, talk, and argue about ideas. And over time, they become exceptionally good at it. They learn how to read more difficult material than they would read on their own. This then connects to writing. We typically have maybe 1 day a week devoted to writing in the humanities block. But the way I see it, writing, especially essay writing, a lot of kids love to write fiction. Most kids hate essay writing. It turns out the key to getting kids to love to write essays is to have them argue a lot. Because I'll give you an example. We read 2 articles on should we bring the woolly mammoths back from extinction or not by 2 Yale scholars. And some kids, yeah, it's so cool, let's bring them back. Other kids, oh no, ecological disaster, let's not. Whatever they think, after arguing with their friends for an hour, are they ready to write an essay about it? Yeah, they kind of keep going, rah, 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 rah. And the whole idea is to get this thinking and ideas to become a natural language for them. So we have them do a lot of writing. We coach the writing in terms of asynchronously with Google Docs. We also have a writing workshop in case students want more one-on-one personal attention. And so that Socratic Humanities block is the reading, writing component of the program, speaking, listening, thinking. Kids love it. Then an hour off for lunch, and then 1 to 3 is the STEM block. STEM includes a couple of components. There's typically some kind of problem solving where they might work on a difficult, say, math problem together. Where it's hard enough, they have to kind of brainstorm. We use brilliant.org a lot. Brilliant.org is a great resource. Sometimes we've used math competition problems, sometimes SAT math problems. We have to kind of figure out a new way of looking at it. We also do some science Socratics where they think, talk, and argue about issues in science. And then finally, there's typically a problem that connects the math they're learning with some kind of, they have to figure out a rate speed kind of issue in math as part of a group problem solving thing. We have some tutors for that. So that's the core STEM program. We also have a standard linear math program to make sure they get 7th grade math, 8th grade math, Algebra 1, and so forth. And for that, students have an option of either using MathSpace or Khan Academy. We have tutors. This is one of the after-school components. We have tutors available after school, and most of our students do half an hour of kind of math practice with our tutors every day. And that way they can go as fast as they want, another flexibility thing. So we have a number of students who are doing 2 years of math per year. They're just racing through it. We have some students who go more slowly and may only do half a year of math, or maybe they'll do math over the summer. We provide math tutoring over the summer as well. So math is completely flexible. If a student needs to fill in some holes, they can go back and fill in some holes, completely 100% personal. So that's the core program, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Wednesdays, we have electives, and our electives kind of fit into 2 broad categories. On the one hand, digital skills. We have students who are interested in all kinds of digital, creative, and entrepreneurial work. So we have software development, audio engineering, animation, video production, these kinds of skills that are incredibly useful for online work. We also have a lot of more human-to-humans things. We have a course on relationshiping, how to become an adult, dialogue games. We have a course on mysteries and conundrums. It's a game where they kind of gain points for doing the best argument. So it's all very interactive and human. So the kids, again, love our electives. And then finally, we have some after-school electives. I teach a purpose course every day where we go through what do you love, what are you good at, what does the world need, what will the world pay for? A wonderful class. And then we also have Spanish every day because Spanish needs regularity. So that's the core program. Finally, every student gets a mentor, and they have a one-on-one mentor session for 30 minutes every 2 weeks. The mentor helps them figure out who they are and where they're going. And that includes coaching them on creative and entrepreneurial projects. Twice a year, we have a student showcase where they show off their entrepreneurial and creative projects. Students have written a novel. One student is making a real iron sword. He learned how to melt metal and so forth. So all the kids are excited about the progress of his sword. We have had students start businesses. We have had students do photography, whatever it is, whatever their thing is, we encourage them to do it and have a community. We also have clubs beyond the standard program where the kids, there's a chess club and a debate club and things like that. And then just on the social thing, our kids are super connected. We have a Slack channel where they're active in the Slack all the time. Separately, they set up their own Discord channel, which we don't control, but they're on Discord with each other all the time. And occasionally there's a little something inappropriate that happens over there, and we tell the student moderators, "Hey guys, cool it." Then it's a pretty civil place, from my understanding. But they're super connected. We also did a trip to Greece each of the last 2 years, which was wonderful for those who could come. And we're planning a camping trip in California and a eco-village trip in Panama. So kids get to see each other in person a couple times a year if they go on these extra trips.
Amazing, amazing. I love how it's a combination of, a classical education and, reading and writing and the math skills and, the things that you need to get done, I guess, to get into university, if that's your choice. And then also focusing on 21st century skills, especially critical thinking and a lot of communication, creativity, and collaboration. You tick all the buttons, I think, the boxes for that. So that is amazing. Let's talk about the typical life of a student. You kind of mentioned a couple hours. Let's just say that they're in the same time zone for Austin. So a couple hours from 10 to noon, and then a lunch break, and then a couple hours. And then when are they doing their learning work in the morning, you think, or in the afternoon? Can you kind of mention that?
Yeah, so Austin time, we also have just an optional community session in the morning where they come on at 9:40 and they listen to music and give each other, talk about the clubs and things. So there's sort of an informal community that hop on at 9:40 Austin time and kind of get together and hang out. It's sort of like before the school day, if you want to hang out with your friends before the school day. Then, but it's adult supervised. Then, the 2-hour humanities block from 10 to noon, then completely off for lunch. Some students do a little bit of work during lunch. Most of them go do something else. Then 1 to 3 is the STEM block. Then students may have math at different times. We have some students that do their 30 minutes of linear math, the standard math curriculum from 3 to 3:30. Others don't do it till 4:30. We have it available till 6. So if a student, say, has athletics, we have some students who maybe leave at 3, go play baseball, then come at 5:30 to do their math. So that, again, that piece of the day is extremely flexible, basically drop in. They can also do their math at lunch. So students are completely free in terms of when they do their work. Most of math and writing goals are on a weekly pace. So some students don't do any homework during the week and just catch up on math on the weekends and do their writing on the weekends. So it's all driven on, are you productive or not? As much as possible, we want students to be responsible for their own learning. We do let parents know if they're not doing work, but the whole purpose of having the mentorship system and the personal growth system is to get students to set their own goals in math. If they committed to doing 2 years of math in a year and they're not doing it, we don't shame or blame. We just say, hey, you're not on track to do 2 years. You want to set a new goal that's more realistic. Or if they claim they're going to do a year of math and they're not getting there, hey, it looks like you're not on track. Do you want to speed up your math, or do you want to keep doing math through June and July? And so it's very much, we just want them to be transparent about what they're committing to do. And that's kind of the self-directed piece. We do, have them set expectations, and we hold them accountable for sticking with those expectations or not, and report to parents if they are or not. But the students have tremendous control in terms of what they're committing to. And if there's a difference between parents and students, then we negotiate that in a meeting. But I would say for 90% of our students, they're pretty happy doing what they're doing, and their parents are happy doing what they're doing. And it's just occasionally that we kind of have to recalibrate with parents and students.
Got it. So Julie is asking, as she's saying, we're looking at options now. What distinguishes the Socratic Experience from other programs? I mean, obviously you're light years away from traditional online schools and curriculums. But there's some other innovative companies. I've interviewed the head of education for Prisma and the CEO of Sora, and there's a few others out there. So how do you differentiate from those types of schools?
No, absolutely. I would say we are extremely high touch dialogue based. I think, some days I say students are going to be in dialogue from 2 to 4 hours a day. The range is STEM is sometimes is more dialogue, some less. Sometimes STEM is doing more kind of quiet problem solving. But I don't know of another program that's a solid 2 to 4 hours of dialogue every day. And so I think this sense of human connection, I speak and write a lot about the adolescent mental health crisis, and I believe that the best antidote to the mental health crisis, yes, social media, electronic addictions are driving it, but connection, community, meaning, and purpose are the ultimate solution. And I think we're extraordinarily rich in connection, community, meaning, and purpose through daily dialogue.
And would that work for kids who are a bit introverted as well?
Yeah, I mean, again, part of the flexibility, we don't require students to participate. We have a number of techniques for encouraging them to do so, but I literally wrote the book on classroom Socratic dialogue. I've been doing this for 35 years. I actually had 2 students in brick and mortar schools who were silent for an entire year, said not one thing. And I thought, well, maybe this is not an appropriate learning environment for them. In both cases, the next year they came and they were confident and actually led conversations. And each student said, it just took me a while to get used to it. So we can be very patient, and we do have students who are just observers. Sometimes those observers write brilliant writing, so we know that they're engaged and getting a lot out of it. One other technique we use is we debrief conversations. So at the end, we'll say, what was the best thing, worst thing, most valuable, least valuable, whatever, different varieties of debriefing. But that lets us check in with the quiet ones and see if they're quiet because they're thoughtful, they're bored, they're angry, whatever it is, and it gives us a feedback mechanism for improving the conversations. So I would say we specialize in high quality intellectual dialogue and creating a culture around that.
Okay, and let's talk about kids who have special needs, different learning differences. Can you accommodate or help them out? How does it work with the Socratic Experience?
Absolutely. I say we're for creative, entrepreneurial, and intellectual kids. And certainly a lot of creative and entrepreneurial kids in particular, and some intellectual kids may have learning differences. So I actually think we have something like 30 to 40% of kids with learning differences because we are an orthodox solution. Just to take dyslexia, now the technology is such that they can easily have anything we read be read to them. The text to voice has gotten fairly reliable and sophisticated. They can also go voice to text and then learn how to correct it and so forth. So we're really, with dyslexics, no real problem at all. I would say, ADHD, hello, I left Harvard because I hate being lectured at. It's boring. I think lectures are boring. I'm an entrepreneur who has, 50 tabs open on my computers and 20 projects going all the time. And I'm sure they would medicate me if I was in school these days. So yeah, but dialogue is interactive. We actually have one boy who stands all the time, and he's kind of moving a little bit. It's a little bit distracting, but he's standing while he's participating the whole time, and it's clear he's got energy. He's a boy. Hello, yeah. But he's totally engaged and has a good time. So I would say, there are extremes of learning differences where we would not be able to manage it, but for the vast majority of relatively mild learning differences, we're an ideal solution.
Amazing. So how involved do parents need to be getting their kids set up and kind of checking on them? I mean, we're going to talk about your staff, your faculty soon, because that's their job, but how involved do parents need to be?
Well, it really depends on the age and maturity of the child. So with younger children, certainly if we have a 7 or 8 year old, most parents are helping them get to the computer at the right time and, make sure everything's working and so forth. So with younger children, parents are much more involved. We have a lot of parents that work from home and their kid is in the same room with them, while their mom or dad is working, the kid is working, and so the parents there just in case. As they get older, they become pretty independent. We've got, 18-year-olds who are basically living on their own and traveling on their own and, open their computer and do their own thing. So we encourage independence. The more mature and independent the child is, the less parents need to be involved. We welcome parent involvement. We have parent education nights once a month. We're design a parent Socratic seminar. We very much want parents to be part of the community, but we want the kids to be independent and responsible. And after 9, 10, or whatever they are.
Yeah, my hack for that is an Amazon Echo Alexa device. And, because I'm often in Zoom meetings when my kids had an online class when they used to go to an online school. And so I would always schedule it for 2 minutes before the class started. If it was 5 minutes, that was too long and then they forget. So yeah, Amazon Echo is great. So let's talk about the adults who work or teach or facilitate at the Socratic Experience. I don't know what you call them. Do you have people who are specialists in certain topics? And then, is there training for them? And what kind of people do you have working for you?
No, absolutely. So different categories. For the elementary program, most of our lead staff are Montessorians. They were either Montessori trained, worked at a Montessori school. And so we've got a very much Montessori philosophy going on with younger ages. I mentioned, I left Harvard. I left Harvard to go to St. John's College, 4 years Socratic dialogue, known as a great book school, but it's really, really unique in terms of 4 years of nothing but Socratic dialogue and classic texts. So our humanities faculty are all Johnnies, we call them. So they've got lots of experience, and then we do a lot of internal training. Again, I wrote the book on this. I've been training people for decades on this. We've got a very strong faculty. Actually, one of the strengths of being online is I've got many people I've worked with before who are working for me now. So there's a woman I worked with 20 years ago. We wanted to work together again for years. Being virtual allows that. I've got somebody worked with in San Francisco. Most of my staff are people I've worked with in other schools, and they love working in this environment. So that's humanities. And then the elementary. The STEM, we have a combination of, I would say, some just experienced teachers who love this environment. They love the Socratic philosophy. And then we've also got some younger people who are trained and learning how to do this with us. The electives are people that are good and passionate at what they do. We've got an improv teacher who does professional improv. We've got our relationship person is a professional relationship coach. Our video producer is a professional video producer. We have a commercial photographer who does commercial photography. So for the electives, they're people who are experts who love the idea of 90 minutes once a week teaching kids. So it's, I would say what everybody has in common is they love kids, they love what they're teaching. For me, as I'm a parent, I have 2 grown-up kids, I always want people that I would want my children to be around. And so I think most people would say it's the most respectful environment towards children they've ever seen, because we sit listening to them think, talk, and argue all day. While I would say asking them difficult questions is part of being respectful. If I respect your ideas well enough to question it, I'm taking you seriously. And so there's this thing where the students are taken seriously as thinkers from the earliest age and all the way, through graduation.
Wonderful. That's amazing. So are you following the typical North American kind of school schedule, school calendar from September to June or so? Can you explain that?
Yep. Basically, we're in school from September through the end of May. It's plus or minus. I think we started August 28th this year, that kind of thing. We take a week off for Thanksgiving, 2 weeks off for winter break, a week off for spring break, and we also respect U.S. federal holidays. But other than that, very standard. We do, as mentioned, provide math coaching over the summer at no extra cost. We also have summer Socratics once a week. So our kids love Socratics so much, they asked us if they could keep going over the week. So it's drop-in, not required. Some weeks we'll get 5 students, some weeks 20 students. They get together for 2 hours and read, think, and talk about ideas.
Love it, love it. Okay, let's talk about the tuition. You said there's kind of a full program, and then you can do things a little bit more a la carte. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so the full program is $12,000 per year in elementary and middle. And if you pay up front, you get a 20% discount, so you can get a discount. The high school is either 15,000 for the accredited high school or 12,000 for non-accredited. Again, we're very flexible. Most parents, probably 80%, want the accredited high school diploma. We have some parents, often homeschoolers, who are been outside the system. They don't care. And the fact is, you don't need the accredited high school to get into most universities. There are a handful where the accredited high school might be important. So we have a conversation about what are your goals when they make the decision of accredited versus non-accredited high school. And then the a la carte options, at the lowest cost, are after-school electives. We have an after-school computer science, my purpose course in the Spanish. That's $100 a month for any of those, so very cheap. People can do the Socratic Humanities only, 2 hours a day, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, for about $350 a month. So there's quite a range. A lot of families love us because they want the interaction. So we have a lot of homeschoolers that might do other programs for other pieces of it, but their kids miss this high-touch interaction. And I think we're the best kind of high-touch interactive environment. So we get a lot of homeschoolers who come to us just for that.
Okay, and then do the students get grades or marks, as they call it in the UK?
Yeah, so we have quarterly reports, and they're narrative in elementary and middle school. In the high school accredited program, they do get conventional letter grades. So in the high school accredited program, we have to fit it in the conventional boxes. So there are distribution requirements. They have to take 2 years of science, of math, 4 years of language arts. They have to take a US history, that kind of thing. Although we do allow them to substitute a different nation. So we had a Mexican student who did Mexican history instead of US, a Pakistani student who's doing Pakistani history instead of US history. But they do have to do standard distributional requirements in high school, and they need letter grades. So we have to fit in the conventional boxes for the accredited high school.
Okay, so you're accredited, that is an option. You provide transcripts and eventually a diploma. Have you had any graduates yet or not? Because you're only a few years old, correct?
We have. We've had one graduate. Her top choice school was Howard, and she got into Howard, and she's very happy and doing well. I've got a number of students who chose community college. They wanted just to do a low-cost option. We've got some students who just started working. I had one student who did Harvard CS50, the Introduction to Computer Science, and then got a job in the startup scene in Austin at 18, without going to college, but he'd taken, serious courses. So, I've got a lot of experience helping students get into the college of their choice. I've got one student who's a rock star academically, and he's also an entrepreneur who raised 1.2 million for his company. He's applying to Stanford and MIT. I think he's a strong candidate for getting into Stanford.
From the Socratic Experience or your previous schools?
He was at the Socratic Experience, and he had started his company, to be fair, before he joined us. But yeah, he joined us and had raised 1.2 million in venture capital for his company. Yeah.
Great. Amazing.
We've got a lot of student entrepreneurs. I've got another student entrepreneur who's working with influencers with 20 million, 40 million followers. And he's in the early stages of building his company, but he chose us in part because we're so flexible. So we get a lot of, entrepreneurial teens who want that kind of flexibility. We also get a fair number of serious student athletes. We have a student who's world champion Taekwondo because we're flexible. She can do 3-day for tournaments, 3-day weekends for tournaments, that kind of thing.
And world schoolers who need flexibility because sometimes we have to hop on a plane or go check out some Mayan ruins with some people. Okay, fantastic. So do you think a big percentage of your graduates are hoping for university, and then you have some that are going down the entrepreneurial path, some that are going for the STEM job kind of path, correct?
Yeah, that's right. When we've got, maybe 50–60% want to go to a four-year college. A number of others, there's a whole movement to go to community college first because it's cheaper and then transfer to a four-year college. And then, some that are doing, I would say digital marketing is another category in addition to software development. So there are digital careers where students can go maybe with a boot camp or something, and they can actually be paid pretty well pretty quickly if they learn these skills.
Fantastic. Obviously, a lot of the people in my Facebook group and whoever watches these videos, they are digital nomads themselves, the parents. Some, have some passive income. Maybe they have rental income and that frees them up to go travel the world. They just pull their kids out of school and then they go. But I think some of us are hoping that our kids will also become digital nomads because of the flexibility, the freedom of location, the freedom of not working for other people in a cubicle, the whole rat race. So we're very pro freedom from societal norms. And I think, again, the way we educate our kids, we really need to consider that if they're going down this traditional path, that is a traditional path to getting a corporate job. I mean, I've heard you talk about this. I have a talk about how the school system was created a couple hundred years ago during the Industrial Revolution on the Prussian model, top down, all of that. But we as world schoolers, homeschoolers, unschoolers, alternative education families, we want to break out from that box, right? And have our kids go down a path that gives them much more just freedom and independence and agency to do what they want to do. So I think the Socratic Experience, you have that same philosophy as well. Would you agree?
And actually, a lot of our staff are digital nomads. From the staff perspective, it's incredible for them because they can live anywhere, again, except for Asian time zones, but anywhere, Western Hemisphere or Europe, Middle East, Africa. And it's incredible. And so we do, and when we've had students actually do internships with our digital nomad, say marketing experts and so forth. So the kids can actually see. I think, just to do a pitch for it, you're already in it. I think it's an incredible period in history when young people can travel the world, go to the coolest places on earth and earn a decent income by doing digital work. I mean, what an incredible lifestyle option.
And it's often cheaper to do this than living in an expensive town in the US, geographic arbitrage. So yeah, I'm all about lifestyle optimization. How many students do you currently have?
We have 152, but we're gaining more. We'd probably be at 170. We do have rolling admissions. So we'll probably be around 160, 170 by January. And 200 something, 250 next fall.
Okay, and what's your application process like? Do you have certain requirements for students to be accepted?
Yeah, so students submit a short video. The biggest criteria, again, we can handle a range of learning differences. They have to be, respectful and capable of participating. We care a lot about the quality of environment. So if a student is rude, mean, aggressive, if maybe the student doesn't want to be here, but the parents want them to be here, that's a problem. So I would say a student who wants to be a good citizen in our environment is likely to get in. They do a little interview. They come in and visit. Visiting day is really important because then they could see if they like the environment. And as a consequence, and then the faculty provide feedback. So if a student is disruptive in a visiting day, that's a problem. Occasionally we've had a student at a bad visiting day and their parents ask for a second chance, and we give them a second chance. They were much better behaved the next day. Not all students, a lot of times I say what I train students to do is person A speaks, person B listens and thinks and then replies. Sounds simple, but not all people, adults or students, are able to do this. But if they can do that basic functionality to be a civil, respectful member of community, then most students work for us.
Okay, because I was wondering if you had a trial period, but it's just one day. They can't just pay for a month and then see if it works and then commit to the.
They're not locked in. They do have to pay, a 1 month deposit, but then after that it's month by month. And so if they, stay for a month and they don't like it, there's no long-term commitment. If they pay up front, then I think they've got 3 months before they lose all of their upfront payment. But basically we're very flexible, and we'd rather have families leave if they're not happy than stay. So no problem on that at all.
Got it. Rebecca asked a good question. How many students are usually in each class?
So the standard is 15 to 1. Occasionally might get to 16, 17, 18, and then we break into 2 cohorts of 9. So basically 15 to 1. Sometimes they're smaller. Some of our electives are smaller than that, but our optimal size is 15.
Okay, because your humanities block, you've got 150 something students. They're not all attending that one particular class. You have different options.
No, everybody's in a cohort of 15 to 1, and usually they're in the same cohort morning and afternoon. So occasionally there'll be a situation where a student may be really advanced in math and he's in a different math cohort than the bottom, but most students are in the same 15 group in the morning and afternoon. But then on elective days, everybody's mixed together, grades 6 through 12. So they'll meet all kinds of different students during electives. And then the community, the informal community from 9:40 to 10 is also everyone. And so you might have 60 students just watching. We don't usually have all of them, but a bunch of students come in to hang out that morning before the school day.
Okay, so the cohorts you have grouped by age?
Basically, age and ability. Again, we're part of being super personalized is if a student is very advanced in something, we'll put him there. So we've had students who are in our elementary program who are taking middle school math, or middle school, and math is the most linear one. So if a student needs to be in a more advanced section, we'll put them in a more advanced section.
That's nice that kids can work at their own pace and zoom up forward if they want to. Rebecca said that's a great number, 15 to 1. Wonderful. Yeah, well, I think this sounds really great. Again, I've heard about it from other, world schoolers. I've been in the ed tech field. So I'm really glad that we got a chance to chat with you. So do you think, Michael, that a world schooling child would be a good fit for the Socratic Experience and vice versa? Because again, it's 4+ hours a day, Monday through Friday. I think it would work. I'm just going to put my opinion. Some of us parents, we need to work. So while we're working, our kids could be doing your school, right?
Yeah, no, it's a great fit. And as I said, we do have a number of world school families. People can, by the way, part of being so flexible is we do have families who take 2-week vacation in the middle of the school year. No big deal. So we're here to help your child learn, and we can be as flexible as you please. I would say, it gets disruptive if a student is gone, every 2 days, every 2 weeks, or randomly in and out a lot. The guides, part of creating a cohesive group is to have members who get to know each other. But within that, we've got families who take time off all the time, who take off on Fridays. We're extremely flexible. And again, something like math, if a kid is not getting their math done, they can keep going over the summer. No big deal. And we do have families where the students sometimes illness, sometimes travel, whatever. And writing too. We have students who don't get their writing done by the end of the year and they keep writing over the summer. So whatever is right for the student, we can do. And that kind of flexibility works for a lot of families.
Okay, I just thought of a couple more questions. What is your thought about the SATs not being required for certain universities? Because you keep talking about, preparing kids to do well in the SATs. What is your thought about that?
So first, there is unambiguous evidence that even for universities that are SAT optional, providing SATs increases the odds of getting in. So universities want to say SAT optional because it's fashionable, but if a student has a good SAT score, that will absolutely help. Yeah. We do have a voluntary, we administer the free Khan Academy SAT practice test, which is based on the real one, 3 times a year starting in grade 9. So students become very familiar with it. Our dense reading helps with the SAT verbal. Often people think of SAT verbal as memorizing vocabulary. That's because if you haven't read serious literature, of course you have to memorize the vocabulary. But if you're reading serious material every day for years, you do well on the SAT verbal. The SAT math takes a little bit more focused practice. But our students tend to be higher on the verbal. So it's not uncommon for us to have students who are 100, 150 points higher on the verbal and the math. And then we explain to them, look, if you wanted to get into this university, you need to bring your math score up to your verbal, and they practice and coach and get it up there. So having good SAT scores is always a good thing in college admissions, no matter what the universities say.
I think especially it's helpful for kids who have an alternative path, like world schooling and maybe inconsistent learning. Maybe they haven't been with, a program like yours for many, many years. They're kind of jumping in and out and doing different things. I mean, my kids, they've been to a school in Peru, one in an agile learning center in Mexico, an online school for a few years. We've had online tutors. We've had Spanish tutors. They've gone to traditional school. They've gone to Montessori, all over the place. So I think I should have my kids do it, because then it will show the universities that, here's a third party grade or, an assessment of this child's abilities, right?
Huge, huge. It actually annoys me that many of my friends in the alternative school world are against the SAT, because what that means is traditional transcripts become more important. And so especially, you're exactly right, especially if you're doing something different. If a student has great SAT scores, and I'll go back to a couple of good college courses, and we have a lot of students doing Harvard CS50. I use that one, but I've had students do UPenn economics, there are about 400 Ivy League courses you can take for free online, and we help students take those. So if you've taken, 3 to 5 Ivy League courses and done well in them, and you do well on your SATs, then I'll talk about creative and entrepreneurial projects, and you have written a novel or started a software company. Hello, that's impressive. You don't need the standard, high school transcript if you have those markers of success. And in many ways, colleges prefer those kind of markers of success.
Right.
You're a more interesting and original incoming student.
All right. My final question is what is your opinion on artificial intelligence and how it's impacting education?
No, great question. So we have students, I mentioned Khan Academy. Some of our students are using Khan Academy and using Khanmigo, which has an AI chatbot. And he's a wonderful, very ambitious 7th grader. He's one of those doing 2 years of math per year. And I'm his mentor. He's giving me a critique every week. Well, the chatbot does this well, it doesn't do that well, it gets certain problems wrong. So I'm actually in touch with a student on a regular basis in terms of how well a chatbot's doing. I'm in conversation with other AI companies to do a more personalized AI that would actually remember each child's particular learning patterns. Some students tend to get this kind of problem wrong, that kind of problem wrong, they need help with this kind of focus. So I'm very into personalized AI. So I'm very big. For years, I've thought humans should do what humans should do well, tech should do what tech does well. So I love things like Khan Academy and Math Lab and so forth, plus the chatbots, because there are certain parts of education that do need practice and repetition, and the kind of coaching is pretty routine. We should let technology do that, but something like human dialogue, hello, let's enjoy being humans together. I don't see technology replacing that very soon.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing is that for high agency environments, and certainly, we're high agency, Montessori, Acton Academies, Sora, Prisma, the high agency environments, I think, will allow kids to use AI tutors to give them superpowers. Sadly, I think students in conventional environments where they're trained to be passive and dependent are not going to get much out of AI tutors, because they're not really trying to learn anyway. They're trying to do as little as possible and get the best grade while doing so. And that negative set of habits won't be transformed by great AI tutors.
Exactly. And they're going to forget 90% of what they were forced to learn in that traditional way. Have you been in touch with Serge Hunt from City as a School? Because I interviewed.
Oh, yes. Serge is a good friend. I love Serge. He and I have talked about partnering a little bit, and yeah, we may do so. We're kind of looking for the right way to fit the pieces together.
Yeah, he and I worked together at that other online school, and then I interviewed him for his new AI tutor. So everyone watch the video with Serge Hunt if you haven't already. Wonderful. Okay, well, I'm going to list your website, your TEDx talk. Where else can people follow you or reach out to you? Are you active on Twitter, LinkedIn? What are the social channels?
So I'm very active on Twitter. It's at Flow Idealism, and mostly about education. So if you want an endless stream of opinions, and sometimes, I cite academic papers and things too. So at Flow Idealism on Twitter. I'm Michael Strong on Facebook. My wife is the beautiful Senegalese entrepreneur, Magat Wade. So I'm the only Michael Strong on Facebook with a beautiful Black wife on my photo. Easy to find me. I'm on LinkedIn and Google Socratic Experience, Michael Strong on LinkedIn. I have a YouTube channel, Socratic Michael Strong, where I began having Socratic conversations with a daughter of a friend when she was 4 years old. She is now 11 and enrolled at our school, and she at 11 is taking Harvard CS50. And so if parents of younger children want to see how to have Socratic conversations with their 4-year-old, 5, 6, 7, 8, it's all there on Socratic Michael Strong YouTube channel. And a lot of parents love the practice of having intellectual conversations with your child from the youngest ages.
Amazing. Yeah, we have a handful of people watching. So we've gotten some questions, but if anyone has any further questions, try to find Michael on these various social channels that he mentioned, his YouTube channel. I want to watch more of that. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Michael. This has been really great. My kids are doing something else right now, but I would, if I had a choice, it would be with you guys.
Well, thank you. We're welcome for everyone. And I'm super passionate about education. So if anybody needs an advocate for alternative, innovative education, feel free. I want to create a movement. Delighted that you're part of this movement, Liz. I think the more we can spread this movement, more for millions and millions of children.
Absolutely. Let's reinvent education, reinvent learning, and just, make a positive impact for the future of our kids. So wonderful. I hope your program grows and grows. I hope you have more time zones in the future. So us world schoolers can hop around the world and continue to attend live sessions, and then kids from around the world can experience what you have. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Liz. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, thanks for watching. I'm Lizz Quain. My twins and I have been traveling and world schooling for about 7 years, and I'm happy to share our experiences. Make sure to check out all the other videos on my channel. I have a playlist of interviews of fascinating world school families and service providers who share lots of info and wisdom about world schooling, traveling, and the digital nomad family lifestyle. If you're new to world schooling or have recently launched and are struggling because you're kind of winging it, if you need some help, I do have a super comprehensive 12-week program on how to world school and travel extensively as a family. I share lots of info on travel logistics, where to go, how to find community, how to immerse yourself into local cultures, and the variety of ways to educate your kids while traveling above and beyond homeschooling them yourself, and much, much more. Make sure to watch my free 2-hour masterclass on how to become a world schooling trailblazing family. That is a great way to learn how to get started. I'll include a link in the description with more info. Thanks and happy trails.